Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Creator Codes. And I just want to invite everyone who is listening to this episode today to take a couple deep breaths and to really feel into the present moment. You may be driving or multitasking, but maybe just taking a moment to really tuning into your body, tuning into your breath, and feeling that gratitude for receiving exactly what it is that you are meant to receive today, the codes that your soul brought you here for to receive. And so today we're talking about your soul's needs. And I was just live on Instagram today and I said, what do you guys want to hear? And I'm always curious to hear about what you all are interested in learning more about, or just deepening and understanding in, or opening a perspective about, because a lot of the times when I listen to podcasts myself, certain topics, it's things I've learned before and things that I have knowledge on, but oftentimes just hearing someone speak on something that maybe we've already learned about in just a slightly different way can really cause that code to awaken from within. So that is my goal for you today, is to have some sort of, the word of the day is epiphany, some sort of epiphany. It doesn't have to be major, but maybe even something subtle that just shifts in you, that helps you see yourself and your relationship with yourself and your soul in a new, exciting, and empowering way. So the reason I wanted to talk about the whispers of the soul, learning to listen to your deeper needs, is because the first word there, whispers. A lot of times in this crazy world, there's a lot of noise. I mean, not a lot of times, like there is a lot of noise, period, in the outer world. And so it really is learning to listen to our deeper needs. It's also unlearning what's in the way of that, which, I mean, we can go on and on about all of the different systems, the education system, and growing up, and, just this whole matrix system that we are a part of. But we don't have to be prisoners in it. We can really set ourselves free from within when we are able to listen to ourselves. So I want to get into the first 3 steps of listening to your soul's needs. But first, I just want to talk about an example of when my soul was trying to get my attention. There's a couple big examples that stick out, and I may have talked about them before, but the first one is in the relationship that I was in a couple of years ago, that I got out of a couple of years ago. And we broke up like 4 times, and throughout that relationship, my soul was truly whispering to me to move on. But our higher selves also know us better than we know ourselves, right? That's like the divinity in us. And by the way, if you're watching the video, I'm holding a couple crystals. I was just feeling called to like ground myself with crystals today. I have a smoky quartz in my right hand and a Herkimer diamond, which is also a quartz, in my left hand. So in case you notice something shiny in my palms, it's just helping the channel the message come through today. But when it came to that relationship, and I see so many people struggle with, is this person the one? And it's almost like we're asking ourselves the wrong questions. It's more about what direction our soul is calling us to go in any given moment. And a lot of times, like I said, our higher selves know us better than we know ourselves. My higher self knew that I was not going to leave, even when even when it told me, like, yes, it's time to go. For 1 year in, 2 year in, 3 years in. And I ended up being in that relationship for 4+ years for a reason, to talk about this today, right? To like learn better about what it actually means to have your intuition whisper to you, and the struggle that comes when you don't listen to it. And that whole entire relationship was a major struggle. Now, I'm not saying I regret not listening, because again, like everything does happen perfectly, and it's easy to say after the fact, but I had to go through that so I can really understand the difference of hearing your soul ping and listening to it, and also hearing it and not listening to it. And that was a big example, was staying in a relationship when I knew that I was feeling like my light was basically not shining as brightly as I am, and as it could. And it's so crazy because finally, when I did listen to the ping, the whispers of my soul, that's when I started tarot. Like, I didn't even do tarot when I was in that relationship, but immediately, I'm talking like days after of living on my own, after I got away from that relationship, tarot started. Like, that was like an intuitive knowing of, this is something that I'm meant to be doing right now. But I couldn't hear that when I wasn't listening to my intuition, period, right? You can't hear any of the intuitive hits if, like, the biggest thing in your life, like, we know how big relationships are, especially if it's like weighing us down. I couldn't hear my intuition because I was not listening to it. So it shut down. It didn't want to speak to me anymore because I was not listening to one of the biggest signals it was trying to give me was, all right, Cass, let's go. And so it took me a couple of years, but it was all it's all perfect, right? No regrets. And so that's a big one. Another one is when I was working at a bridal salon and I was the top salesperson, the top performing salesperson selling wedding gowns. I had just sold a very expensive gown and I was called into my manager's office. And this was after being there for years of really excelling and doing great, but I just was not feeling fulfilled. I felt so uncomfortable when I went into work, not because I liked what I did. I was good at what I did, but there was something that I just, like, I knew I needed to be doing something else where I could spend my time elsewhere. And because I did not listen to that soul pull and the whisper, I got fired. And the universe took over for me and was like, all right, I guess we're going to take action for you if you're not going to. So that is also something that can happen when you don't listen. Something on the outside force will give you some sort of discomfort to kind of push you in the direction that your soul has been pulling you to go in. So this topic, those are just a couple examples, and we'll get into like how to really tune in so you don't have to get fired from your job and you can take that into your own hands as an example. But this topic matters right now so much because there's a lot that's changing collectively, so much that's changing collectively. So much. Do you guys feel it? Do you see it? I mean, come on. If you're existing in the world right now, you can feel a major shift. You can feel a lot that's changing on a big scale, on smaller scales, in all of the ways. And so right now, it is so important to really be able to listen to your soul whispers with all of the noise, with all of the crazy that's going on. Otherwise, we'll just be pulled in many different directions and have to learn the even harder ways, right? I mean, we're always going to learn no matter what choice we make, but we can make it easier on ourselves if I'm hearing rip the Band-Aid off, right? If we like do the uncomfortable thing, but we know it's just going to help us tomorrow down the road, and that's really important to tune into. And that's why this really is synonymous with listening to your intuition, right? Listening to your soul, the whispers of your soul is really listening to your intuition. And you can develop your intuition, and that is something we're not going to really like get totally into. But again, we'll start with the first steps with listening to your soul's needs. So what does it mean to listen to your soul? There is a difference between your ego and fear and conditioning versus the whispers of your soul. So the biggest difference, and that's a question I used to get a lot, is like, how do I know it's my intuition and my soul versus my ego? How do I know the difference? And the biggest way is how it makes you feel. So it's really key when you're making decisions and you want to make it from a place of honoring your soul and your soul's calling, to be neutral as far as your emotions go. If your emotions are above a 17%, your intuition is cloudy. So it's hard to listen to your soul because your emotions are taking over and it's like, oh, is this my intuition? It makes me feel really, 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 really good. That's not your soul. It's neutral. And so sometimes fear will make it seem like, oh, when you're running away from something, that's not really, and it's really also, this topic is synonymous with love. Like, what would love do? And a lot of times we think that love is supposed to feel good, but oftentimes these decisions don't feel good in the moment, but it is truly coming from a place of deep love for yourself, which is really what your intuition wants for you. So call it whatever you want, right? Like the love pulling you, your soul whispering to you, God talking to you, right? All of these are kind of synonymous with each other. But when we're running away from something, that is making a choice out of fear. And a lot of times when we're making a decision and it feels the most comfortable, that's from conditioning or from programming of, for example, being in an abusive relationship, like even just verbally, it doesn't matter what kind of abusive relationship, and you make a choice to be with someone who's slightly abusive in your next relationship because it like brings a sense of security in a way, or like comfort, because that's what you're used to. So that's not making a choice from your soul, right? And your intuition. It's making a choice from conditioning and programming. But we can break free from that. And that is why we have this episode today. So the soul speaks in nudges, in symbols, right? And the things that are around us. A lot of times we talk about, oh, there's a cardinal, or oh, there's an angel number. And I do believe that those types of signs and symbols can represent something, as long as our ego is not trying to make it something that it isn't. But when you learn how to really work with your intuition, those can be very meaningful. And our soul will speak to us in louder ways. For example, me getting fired, that's a big like reflection in the outer reality that my soul brought to me because I was not listening to the whispers of quit. I didn't listen, I got fired. Big, like the soul was speaking in big ways, right? A lot of times we think it's just a voice coming through our ears, but it is our outer reality that's reflecting to us what we are or are not listening to. So unfortunately, most people today, when you look around in the world, but this is changing, are following their ego, not their soul. I see it when it comes to dating. I see it when it, like, just watching the fun TV shows. It's all ego. It's all ego. And it's interesting to witness. And I'm not saying that from a judgmental place. It's just kind of the way that the world is right now. But this is why so many people are hitting breaking points or experiencing spiritual wake-up calls, right? In different ways. So before I go on too many tangents here, I want to get into the first 3 steps to listening to your soul's needs. And I'm keeping it simple, but when you really get this, it can change a lot for you. So the first step is to create space for silence. Again, that's really simple, but how often do you sit in silence? Or are you listening to something? Even music, and I'm not saying that's bad, but how often are you able to sit in silence? And to do that every day is like, you're in the top 1%, right? Like most people don't do that. There's always something going, and I'm not innocent here. It's so great to listen to podcasts and to watch TV and to be inspired by others. But when you can be in your essence, in silence, that's when we can really connect to our own soul path. So your soul can speak to you through the noise, but it's very challenging to hear it if you are not allowing yourself time to be silent, to unplug, to sit with yourself, to embrace the moments of stillness. Again, very simple, but most of the simple things that can really impact our lives for the better, most people don't do. Deeply breathing, right? Deeply breathing. Sitting in silence, drinking water and drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. I always talk about that. It's like the masters always go back to the simple, to the core of what is important, and then we expand upon that. But without this simplicity of sitting in silence, even just for like, guys, I'm talking just 5 minutes, and it can feel uncomfortable at first. It can change a lot because you'll be able to hear yourself instead of just indulging in what everyone else has to say, which it's great to gain inspiration. But I notice too, as someone who reads tarot cards, who does channeled messages, I'm influenced, whether I like it or not, whether I want to admit it or not, when I'm constantly consuming. It can be inspirational, but it also can take over your soul's whispers when you don't allow that whisper to be heard. So that is step 1, create space for silence. Step 2, tune into your body. Again, simple. But even myself, do I do it enough? I don't know. You know? The body is a messenger for the soul. Like, we're here in physical form as conduits, if we want to be. Our souls chose to be in physical bodies. That doesn't mean to disconnect from the physical. Why would that would not make sense, right? So logically, knowing that our souls came here to be in human form, why would we disconnect from our human form? That would not make us better than or more connected to. It actually disconnects us. I had a major awakening, I don't know, a month or 2 ago. You know, when you feel something deeply that you've known, but it becomes more embodied. That's what happened when I realized how important our body is and how it really gives us signals. But when we're not listening to it, it's going to speak louder through our soul whispers through our body. Oh, little sore throat, not listening to, maybe the cues of what that's telling me. Or, I don't know, I'm thinking of dry skin and just ignoring these things that are not horrible, but they can become worse and worse if we ignore the signals. And if you listen to the episode about the law of reflection, I'm going to probably do another episode on that, because that episode was talking about how our past can really influence what we're seeing now, including in our body. But I'll probably do another episode on that, because our body is always reflecting to us something about ourselves that we're being called to listen to. So our soul speaks through our bodies. Symptoms, tension, and illness all carry meaning. All of it. For example, I'll just give a couple examples. Pain in the chest is usually fear. Pain in lower back is financial distress. Pain in the neck is not being able to see things from another perspective. And I'm saying this kind of generally, but when you get more specific, you can understand what your body is actually speaking to you. Step 3. Hold on, I'm going to let Nellie in. Okay. Pause. Thank you. All right, step 3. Notice what feels nourishing versus draining. Another way to say this is, what opens your energy? What expands your energy? What brightens and lightens your energy versus what diminishes your light? What actually makes you feel not like yourself? What makes you feel like you are wrong, right? Or bad, or, these are lies, illusions that a lot of times come from other people or situations around us. For example, my relationship, right? It felt like it was draining my energy. And that was a big sign for my soul. But I didn't listen until I could not take it anymore, until I was fully drained. But we don't have to get to that point. It really is very much whispers. and it's very subtle a lot of the time. So when you follow the energy, what lifts you, what drains you, what subtly feels like it's a collapse of your energy, that's a really great way to tap into your intuition, is when you, again, there's many ways to develop your intuition, but one of the ways is to feel the collapse or the expansion when you state a question. Like, it's for my highest good to go to the grocery store right now. That's like a small example. Does your body feel more expanded? Does it feel like it's collapsing? That could be an intuitive yes or no. Many, many ways to test your intuition, but that's just kind of an example of the subtle energy that's moving through you. Again, that kind of goes with number 2, which is tuning into your body. But yeah, step 3 is noticing what feels nourishing versus draining. Just in general, like asking yourself that is very telling. Okay. And so next, I want to talk about the discomfort of slowing down, like in listening to your soul's whispers, because when you listen to your soul, it is usually uncomfortable at first because the ego does not like the unknown. But if your soul is pulling you in that direction, then it is supposed to be uncomfortable because you don't grow in comfort. You don't grow while you're comfortable. You actually grow in the discomfort. That's where the best, most nourishing growth is. So that's where I want to kind of clarify with step 3 of noticing what feels nourishing versus draining. We want to make sure that's not coming from conditioning. Again, with the relationships, choosing something that's abusive because it's comfortable. That's not a true nourishment. That's not a soul nourishment. And you'll know that. You'll know that over time, especially. It's very much revealed to you in every given moment, but the more that you can, step 1, slow down and be silent with yourself, the more clear it will be and the faster you can receive that information rather than having to go through the cycles time and time again. So the soul will often call you away from what's familiar, from what's fast or like a quick hit, right? Like a quick dopamine hit, or what's socially approved. It will call you away from that. Again, that's helping you break away from these patterns when you listen. And so over time, you retrain your nervous system to find safety in the truth, even when it's unfamiliar or quiet, right? Because if our nervous system is attuned to feeling stressed, to feel actually calm could almost be frightening to the ego. So it is a rewiring not only of your brain in your neural pathways, it is connected to your nervous system. Your brain is connected to your nervous system. It's a part of it, right? So it is a big rewiring of your physical system when you really start to train yourself to listen to the soul calling, to the soul pull, to the soul whispers. And so when we ignore our soul and we suppress our soul needs, they don't disappear. These needs do not disappear. A lot of times we run, right? Like when I moved away to Florida and it was so beautiful. No matter where you go, there you are. It doesn't just disappear. These things don't disappear that are calling for your attention. They will manifest physically, emotionally, spiritually, right? In all the ways. So examples of ignoring your soul is feeling burnout, feeling anxiety, chronic illness, or even cancer as a wake-up call. These are all ways that our soul is speaking to us when we have been ignoring the smaller pings, the smaller whispers. And over time, again, it becomes bigger, so you pay attention. People make big life changes after they get cancer, right? They start to appreciate life and to rewire what caused the cancer in the first place, which underlying cause is repressed anger, right? So it's really interesting that like we can't run away from ourselves. We can't run away from the big soul lessons that we're here to learn. And it's feels comfortable to run away like in those little moments, but over time it will feel really uncomfortable to run away, just like that relationship that I was in. It's like, okay, it's fine. I'm safe now. I'm going to stay in the relationship. I'm not going to run. It's okay. Like, get me pregnant. I'm like, get me pregnant. Like, let's get married. You know, you go to that extreme, and I see that. It's easy to see now all the time because I was in that. But luckily, I finally found the strength to leave, even though it felt like death. It actually felt like death. It felt so threatening because that was my safety for years. And I physically felt, it's wild because our body talks to us in many ways, but so does our safety system and our nervous system. I felt like I was choking when I thought about actually leaving him. Like physically, I felt like I couldn't breathe. That's not a sign to listen to of like, oh, nope, I'm going to suffocate when I leave. So it's actually allowing yourself to understand like, oh, this is how I've been programmed. This is how I've been conditioning myself, is to feel safe in this entrapment. And when I release, it's going to feel so uncomfortable, but I'm going to find a new way to breathe, a new way to allow life to move through me. And my ego is just screaming like so much. So interesting. So, dis-ease can be a last resort message from the soul that's been ignored for too long, like I've been saying with cancer and these big illnesses that seem to take over our lives, because it's like, all right, health is wealth. If you don't have your health, or if you're struggling to feel healthy, you can't focus on anything else. So it's calling for a wake up to look at the bigger picture, not just physically. And so these wake-up calls are happening individually and collectively. There's a collapse of old systems it's happening right now. Financial system, educational, healthcare system. And this is all because the way that we've been functioning as a society. So we see it collectively and individually. The way we've been functioning as a society. I mean, look at the depression rates, look at the suicide, look at all of these things that have been going on in society. And cancer rates too, right? All of these things, and I'm not blaming the systems, but it's a part of it all, right? It's all interwoven, especially when we don't understand all of this stuff that I'm talking about, right? Like the soul and like how it speaks to us. And it's very surface level for many people, and that's okay. I'm not shaming or blaming anyone, but the systems have not been working for us to help us understand more of our soul callings and our soul whispers. And that's why this is all breaking down. It's a tower moment for the collective and for individuals as well. And so we don't continue to ignore the deepest truth that we are always being told and whispered to from our souls. So common soul needs that we tend to ignore. Some common ones are deep rest, right? Like look at out in society, many people are go, go, go. You won't be successful, when you sleep or whatever it is. Like deep rest is so nourishing, even just physically when you work out, if you don't rest, your muscles are not going to be able to repair and, be healthy and grow. Deep rest is commonly ignored. Living in alignment, even just listening to what is in alignment and what's not. Obviously, that's commonly ignored. Creative flow, creative expression, like writing and we're all creative. We're all creative. And it's important to let that flow through us. And that is usually like the divine moving through us, when you're in that flow state. Solitude, it's important to be alone sometimes. Play, it's very important to play. That's been coming through for me personally. It's like dance, just dance, just dance. That's like My inner child and my happy heart expressing itself is dancing. That's the creative flow as well. Play is so important. Spiritual connection, so that's kind of on the opposite of solitude. A lot of people on the spiritual path become very hermit mode, which has been the case for me. But now I'm really being called to reach out and connect with others. That's also important, is the connection. And like I just said spiritual connection, but it's like connection with other humans is very important, that nourish you. But also spiritual connection, having that prayer, having that meditation, having that connection with the divine. It could be so much more present in our conscious minds if we allow it to be. And another thing we tend to ignore is truth telling, like saying the truth, telling the truth. That can be very difficult, especially if we feel like we're going to offend someone. That doesn't mean to be an asshole, right? It's not about being right. It's about loving, and love includes the truth of what you're feeling, like the truth, the absolute truth, but also relative, the truth of what you're feeling. So these soul needs that we tend to ignore are often inconvenient or non-linear, which is why the world resists them. Because a lot of times as adults, we're like, well, why would I play? That doesn't make me successful, when in fact it does, right? What is success anyway, without being able to play, in my opinion? So let's see, what starts to shift when you start to honor your soul's needs? To be honest with you, things do get uncomfortable a lot of the time. As some of you may know, certain people may fall away. You might not actually resonate with people that you thought you did because of the programming or the relationships that you were used to and things like this. So things will change in your outer reality. When your inner reality, when you allow that to shift, when you allow your inner reality to really to come to terms with what you're ready to change. And when you commit to that and you declare it and you ask for it from God, from source, it's going to get uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean to run away from it. I'm telling you, this is why not everyone is on this path. Because it's uncomfortable. People want to live in comfort, which ultimately long-term creates an underlying discomfort. The most fulfilling life, in my opinion, is one where you actually can experience the deepest soul alignment and fulfillment of what your soul actually came here to do and to be. But if you're constantly running away from that and you're running towards comfort, it's actually over time going to feel very unfulfilling. When you follow your soul's guidance, everything will change in the most beautiful way. I ended up in Sedona, Arizona, and it's so gorgeous here because I listened to an illogical voice, right? The whisper to come here. There was no logic. Oh, you need to go to Sedona because this person's here. I didn't know anyone here. You need to go because, no, there was no reason. But it was just a deeper understanding to surrender to, of okay, I understand that this is what I'm being called to do, and it will be revealed. And it is. It's actually being revealed. It's been about 8 months now. Really interesting. So to close, let's close with a journal prompt if you would like to take it. What has my soul been asking for that I have been resisting? And when you sit in silence and actually allow the answer to move through you, because it will, it's within you, it's not outside of you. That's why I know a lot of people come to me as a tarot reader, and everyone always says, thank you for the confirmation, because they knew deep down what it was, but they needed that reassurance on the outside. I'm not saying that's bad or wrong at all. That's why I'm here, to help with those confirmations. It is reassuring to hear that from someone else that's really, really connected in. But when you are really, really connected in, you don't even need that reassurance. But if you want some, don't worry, I got you. I have your back. This is why I do personal readings. I'll put my email below if you want to book one with me. I'm updating my bookings at the moment. I might have that updated too. I'll have the link below to book with me. And yeah, I'm excited. I want to connect with more individuals and to help with the reassurance and the confirmation, and maybe just with, something that has been a very soft whisper that I can make a little bit clearer for you. But anyways, what has my soul been asking for that I've been resisting? So I invite you to pause, to reflect, and to recommit to your inner truth. It really is just a remembering of who you are. And when you can remember that, and when you honor that, the divine vessel that you are, the divine piece of God that you are, it does become easier. I feel so different now when I have challenges come up, because I know it's something that's coming from a place of divine redirection, right? It's something that I'm being called to look at and to feel all of these cues, and to develop my intuition and to trust that, because we're all intuitive, but it is important to develop that and to use it. It's true, if you don't use it, you lose it. You can always get it back, but you don't want to lose it. So, is there anything else that I want to add before we close? Okay, I'm being called to pull one card. I guess I'll put my gemstones down. That was really nice. I don't know if you guys heard a difference. I felt very grounded with that. So I'm going to pull one card and see what kind of message wants to come through for you today. Although I know this was message enough, but it might be something just to meditate on. Let's see what wants to come through. This is my new deck. There it is. Oh, could not be a more perfect card that came out. It is the Star card. Wow. The Star card. This card is all about healing. Oh, I'm hearing it's all about activation. It really is. It's about activating your highest timeline. It's about being connected with you at that more expanded level. And it's not about your soul being better than your human, because it's kind of, you're the same in a way, right? But it's about having that higher perspective, and almost like you're in the stars looking down at your human self and loving that human, but also helping that human. You can do that yourself. You are your own guide. So just take a moment and take a couple deep breaths and imagine a big bright star in the sky. In a dark night sky, a big bright star. And it's so brilliant, it's so bright. And it's like you are one with that star. You feel the innate power of shining so bright. And you're shining as you look down on earth at your cute, beautiful human self, and you're shining upon yourself. And I'm just seeing you have all of these little shooting stars come out of this big star, and feeling so free with that connection to your ultimate light and truth. And when you honor this, your divinity, you as a star, you start to really embody this as a human, and people will start to see you differently. You will start to see you differently in a way that has no judgment, has no attachment, but just glow and magnetism, excitement, play, and really seeing yourself from afar, the bigger picture, knowing that this human life is a very small iteration of your soul's journey, but honoring this small iteration as though it is the only way to express your soul right now, because it kind of is. And yeah, we can talk about parallel timelines and realities and all of these things, but what's most important is for you to know that you right now as a human have it all. You have it all, and there's resources you're being called to tap into that you have yet to fully allow to be tools for you. There's other people that will also assist. You have a lot of guidance from the stars, a lot of guardians. I'm hearing guardians of the galaxy, cosmic soul sisters and brothers, soul family on earth as it is in heaven. I'm also hearing there's a lot of guidance that's constantly pouring through from your higher self, from your soul, and from those who really want the best from you, of the highest light, the highest good for all. And so for you today, I'm sending you so much love, and I'm honoring you as a human, as a soul, and all of it together. Look at the stars and see yourself, because you're so expansive, you are limitless, and you are free. Whatever's in the way, or whatever's been in the way of you believing that, that is what is falling away now. That's what's burning away. That's what's dissolving. So you can truly allow your human self to feel that freedom that your soul does. Your human self inspires your soul self. Your life is an inspiration for you and for others. So continue to honor your soul by getting quiet, by listening to your body, by feeling into that, and by really understanding what is expansive and beautiful for you and your evolution as a human and a soul, and what is diminishing that light. When you do these things, you'll have an easier time with listening to your soul's needs. I hope this episode helped you today. It was an honor to be in your ears today, and I would love it if you shared this with a friend, if you commented, if you liked, if you want to DM me or post on your stories on Instagram. I will share it because I love to hear the feedback from these episodes. It helps me pour more into this podcast because it's so fun for me, but I want to make sure it's fun for you too, and you are enjoying it and you're receiving these creator codes in ways that I hope really help expand your life and help you feel more free. That is the goal. So I offer personal readings, and I have a couple recorded classes down below if you want to purchase those. There's different ways of working with me. And until next time, sending you so much love. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.